Nearly every artist that I ever met has at some point or another considered or dreamed of making a comic book. There's something very alluring about it because it is truly, from the mind of the artist to the reader. And I'm oversimplifying, but that has an incredible allure. And at some point or another, you realize, man, it's a really tough business. And if you have a good paying job doing art, it's really hard to just, give up that good paying gig doing art. For me, it's been character design for big AAA video games. It's been really hard for me to step away from that to do a comic, But recently I got the bug. The story demanded it be made. And I started drawing pages for a 14-page Twilight Monk short story. And that's what you're watching me draw in this video. And I got some insights into some things that I'm picking up again, just with, if you're going to do a comic, uses some things that I've been doing, some successes and some failures, some things to avoid, but really just also kind of just showing off a little bit of my process of drawing on paper, which feels really good, getting comfortable with the tools again. So I'm no stranger to drawing comics. I mean, I don't need to go into all of my history with it, but I did pretty good at it for a long, long time. And I'd say about every 3 or 4 years, I come back to it and I'm like, hey, I'm going to do another comic again. The last one I did was Creed, and it was a revival of my first comic that I had a success with when I was 16 years old. And technically I've released in the last 2 years or 3 years, I've released 4 illustrated novels and 2 art books for Twilight Monk. So I have a sickening, self-masochistic desire to just work so much because I do all of that in between all of my character design work for video games. But my last project just beat the hell out of me. The Twilight Monk video game, I didn't just license that out. I was directing it, which is a huge undertaking, a lot of management and stuff that isn't art. So going indie or trying to do your own thing is always this really risky thing that's always really hard to do. When you realize hey, you could just be getting paid, to do the same amount of work, you could just be getting paid working on somebody else's thing. They market it, they sell it, they figure it all the business side. And so it's really tough to just go, I'm going to throw all that away and just go and make an indie thing that maybe doesn't make any money at all. An indie thing could blow up and you get a lot more of the slice of the pie, but it could also just do nothing. You never even really know. And so that's definitely true with comics, and anybody who's tried to make a comic knows this. The same is true with indie video games, and this is kind of, I think, probably with films as well, because you watch interviews with Richard Linklater or Robert Rodriguez. It's or Guillermo del Toro. Hell, even the Mad Max director, George Miller. It's he wanted to do Mad Max, but he had to go and make Happy Feet because Happy Feet would sell. And for Robert Rodriguez, it was Spy Kids. I'm sure that they had passion for these kind of commercial films that they were making, but they weren't their passion projects. The things that sold were the Spy Kids, or the thing that was popular, the thing that the studio was backing, not their passion projects. And so that's true if you're an artist as well. You got your passion projects, you're taking a stab in the dark, and sometimes you get real lucky and people just love the hell out of it. But oftentimes, even for big time film directors, you got to do the jobs that pay the bills. And that kind of gets you the credibility to do your own thing, your own project. So George Miller couldn't have done Fury Road, one of the greatest films of all time, Mad Max Fury Road. He couldn't have done that if he didn't do Happy Feet. And so I'm always finding myself alternating. And right now I'm in one of those phases where I'm I'm taking on some contract work. I'm doing Marvel Snap cards, I'm doing Hearthstone cards, I'm doing some small contract stuff, but trying to do my comic now. I love working on big AAA games too. I mean, it's really awesome to work with a great team, and then you see your game on Summer Game Fest trailers or your character designs and world-renowned video games. It's super rewarding, but I also I cannot let this part of me die that just wants to make my own thing too. I recently, in my desire to rebuild my artist brain and rebuild my artist routine, I started sitting down every evening and I set up a fancy schmancy little camera. Actually, the first ones I was doing were not so fancy. I was a pain in the butt. I got my setup all ready for me to just record myself drawing and drawing pages. And I started with something small. And so what you're watching in this video is really me grabbing some old pages from a story that I had started where I just knew that I wanted Raz, the character from Twilight Monk, to be sneaking into this old fortress, this old ruin, and sneaking past these storm shadows, which are just these monsters in the world of Twilight Monk. And we don't need to know much more than that for it to be a cool scene. But I didn't know what the story was about. And since I would say in the last year, I've read over 200 manga books, tankobons. I've read a lot of comic books, and I've read a lot of books about writing better stories. And so what I started doing midway through inking these pages, because inking these pages was just my meditation in the evenings. And I do recommend that, by the way. If you're like, oh, I just want to create stuff, just start creating. It doesn't matter what kind of hot mess you make. You can figure it out later. And also, I've started trying to think less sacred about what I'm doing and started just thinking, just make it fun. Like, make it really cool, make it really fun. Like, it was just a fun thing to draw and fun thing to write. And so now where I'm at with the story is that I've started, I stopped doing some of the artwork to just make the script. Over this past weekend, I wrote out like my first draft of the script, and I started roughing out the rest of the pages for essentially what is a 14-page short comic book story. What the heck am I doing? It's as if I'm a comic book artist again, which is stupid business. That's not good business. Thinking that you're going to leave AAA game development character designer jobs, and turn down character designer jobs on video games to go and where you get paid, by the way, with to do a comic where who knows, right? There's a lot of comic book artists out there and a lot of people dreaming of the same thing. And it's like, how arrogant do you have to be to think that your comic is better than everybody else's? Just go on Twitter for like a few minutes and like do a search for, indie comics, and you'll see a million people dreaming and hoping and putting in their blood, sweat, and tears, and there's incredible talent out there. Whatever the case, there's no joke, man. There's fierce competition. But I wanted to just get back to the damn love of drawing characters and writing stories again. Holy shitballs, I missed it. I missed the therapeutic silence. The truth about indie game dev is it's extremely stressful. And especially if you have to manage a team or you're managing schedules or budgets and all this like admin stuff, it's extremely stressful. I won't go into the details. Let's just say it's a lot more damn work than people think. You read comments and they're like, oh, why didn't you just put this feature in or that feature in? It's like, okay, I got to budget out, find a skilled person that knows how to do that feature, and then also hire them and get them in the schedule and make sure that they know what we're building, and they got to go through back end stuff. And you're answering emails all day long just about like where things are in the game. It's okay. I'm not going to go into it. Let's just say it's a lot of damn work, and none of that has anything to do with writing stories or drawing characters. And so when I say I'm enjoying the therapeutic silence, it's like, yes, I just go for walks and think about my stories, and then I come home and I sketch them out, and then I write the dialogue. It's like simple. It's a simple life. I missed this simple life of being an artist and writer. That's not to say that I won't ever do another indie game again. Maybe not as a director. I don't know. I'm fried. I'm so exhausted, and I'm just excited to be drawing again. I just feel this sort of like relaxed state of expression. And especially when I'm not really thinking like, is this going to be a cool clickable video or a clickable image on Instagram? I'm actually really kind of doing the not businessy thing and just focusing on making good entertainment with the art and the story. Like, if you don't have good story and good characters, then you're not gonna get people to stick around. Good art is one thing, but having like compelling scenarios and having a good reason to turn the page is another. As I mentioned, I read more books this year than I ever did in my whole life. And my goodness, I learned so much. I read so many books about writing better stories, and I'm applying all of that knowledge and information to this 14-page story to create like a nice beginning, middle, and end. And I've talked a lot about this in my Making Comics workshop. I would just say I need to update that because I've got so much more information, so much more knowledge now than even when I made that like 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm getting back to really crafting comics again. I feel like my 16-year-old self again to some degree, just drawing cool stuff like kung fu fighters, kicking monsters in the face. And this is sort of also in between, like I'm still doing some contract work. I'm doing some Marvel Snap cards. I'm doing some Hearthstone cards. And I'm doing my tutorials for my audience over on Gumroad, and I'm doing YouTube videos, which takes a lot of time also. Another thing that I wanted to point out, if you're watching this and you're like, wow, he's drawing it on these kind of small pages. Yeah, these are drawn on smaller manga board that I got from Amazon. And it's not your usual comic book size board. Normally, comic book artists will draw, for American comic books, they'll draw on 11 by 17 board. That's what I was doing when I was working on Ghost Rider at Marvel. But I like I said, I've been reading a lot of manga, and I realized, like, especially if you read Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, Akira Toriyama used to draw on smaller paper because it forces you to do less panels per page, and it goes a lot faster. And I thought, well, I would rather just do these like really short but really tight stories. Again, this is just a 14-pager. I don't really have a publishing plan for it. I don't know what to do with it other than that it's just sort of a bonus side story that takes place before The Secrets of Kung Fu Leo, the illustrated novel that I did a couple years back. And the thing that I wanted to say about that is that the 14-page is not an accidental choice. 14 pages was the length of a Dragon Ball episode in the manga. And furthermore, it's also, I think there's a lot you can do in a 14-page book, and I love the low level of commitment. 14 pages is still a lot of work, but it's a relatively low level of commitment compared to, say doing like a 60-page graphic novel or something like that. Like my long-term goal is to do longer books. Don't get me wrong. I want to do graphic novels. I want to do larger stories. I'd love to do an entire series of tankobons in, chronicling the story of the game, of Twilight Monk. And that would be my long-term goal, but I have to build up to that. And that's the thing that you might not realize if you're watching and you're like, oh, I'd love to draw a comic, but I got a graphic novel idea. It's like, if you've never drawn a graphic novel, take my advice. Just start with something that's a little bit smaller so that you can really get your chops. And also do a side story. Like this is a side story for Twilight Monk because I didn't want the pressure of like going, no, this needs to be, this project that's going to take me 5 years to do. And this is just scene 3 from that 5-year project. That's so much to chew on. And I don't know where I'm at in my career. That sounds weird. I never like to put the cart before the horse. I'm just trying to make a good story and make something fun that I like to draw that people enjoy reading. And so I'm kind of trying to figure out where I want to release this. I don't even know. Am I going to do another Indiegogo campaign like my Creed campaign? Am I going to sign with a big publisher? I don't know. I might submit this story to a publishing house. I don't know that I want to get involved in shipping out packages and all the stuff involved in that. Sometimes I just make the best damn thing I can make, and then sometimes a publisher will reach out to me, and then if it's a good fit, we do something together. That's how the Twilight Monk game came to be. I haven't really figured out a business model for it yet. Literally, I just started drawing and I started writing again. And that's kind of exciting place to be. The thing about the distribution or the plan for it, though, the thing I do know is I'm like the Little Mermaid, man. I want to be where the people are. And that means I'd love to know how you consume your comics and your illustrated stories, this kind of like comic book format. Are you on Webtoons? Are you on globalcomics.com? Like, where are you reading your comics, and where should I be posting this? Let me know in the comments below. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on making comics. Anything that I might have said in this video. Hopefully it's not too esoteric. But anyway, I look forward to hearing from you. Please do remember to subscribe. Check out some of my workshops if you want to support an indie, or if you want to develop your skills at a rapid pace. I'm self-taught, and I've taught a lot of people and helped a lot of people develop their art career. I'd love to help you as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, ciao.